Yeah, I'm Hans Haas. My brewery is Wavelength Brewing Company. We opened at the end of 2014. Been in business almost 4 years in downtown Vista. In our case, we definitely were what you'd call a bootstrap startup. In fact, when we opened the doors, I didn't even have tables and chairs. You know, we had a sidebar, the main bar, and then I'd borrowed some bar stools from a neighboring business. Yeah, my wife, when we first started living together, she bought a homebrew little 5-gallon extract kit off the internet, and I think it was a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale clone recipe. You know, there's 1,000 of those out there. Yeah, and we made it in the kitchen on the stove and fermented it in the closet. And 3 weeks later, we tried it, and it didn't suck. You know, it wasn't the best beer on earth, but we're like, wow, all right, let's start doing this a little. And gosh, yeah, 10 years later, we're running a brewery. It kind of sounds crazy, but. I would say that our special thing is that we don't really try to specialize. You know, some places are all about Belgian, some are all IPAs. There's a local brewery that tried to be all sours when they opened up. And, you know, one of our mottos here that plays on the Wavelength name is full spectrum beer. So light, dark, malty, hoppy, sour, Belgian, hoppy, you know, hoppy through the roof. You know, cream ales. You know, we even tried to make a malt liquor once. That was loads of fun. Probably will never do that again. So yeah, so we really try to not be a niche brewery when it comes to the beer side. I'm definitely into hops. Love IPAs. Love session IPAs. You know, love some recipes that you kind of go into knowing about, you know, what the ABV and what the style's going to be and whatnot roughly, but then when it comes out, you know, you kind of have a real unique beer. That's how some of our homebrew recipes came to be and have evolved into some of our main flagship beers. We have a hibiscus red ale. That was actually one of the first homebrew recipes that we developed, and to this day it's still pretty popular. So yeah, but honestly, above all, I'm probably a hophead, so I love my IPAs.
I'm Nick. I'm the cellarman for Wavelength Brewing Co. I've been here with the head brewer Hans for about 4 months now, but I've been in the industry since I was about 22. I met Hans coming here to check out the brewery probably in year 1, and you know, had some great tasting beers, some really unique stuff. Started coming more often. Just trying to learn a little bit more about the science side of things too. So I would show up for a couple of the talks, and trivia was always fun. And then also I knew Michael, so Michael was a good big factor of coming and saying hi.
one of the benefits of being in probably the most competitive market in the nation in terms of beer is there's suppliers all over the place. So there's a couple local warehouse suppliers that have all the grain that we could really need. On the hop side of things, one of the benefits of being this small and being in an industry where most of the other breweries are really nice people and they're have no problem helping the small guy. As we can go to some of our neighbors, the bigger breweries like Belching Beaver, and just buy a box of hops from them. And for us that'll last several weeks, if not a month or two. If you get a 44-pound box or something, just because we have a smaller 3-barrel system.
Man, I would probably have to say our best beer would be the MIRKWOOD. Just like Hans actually said, I really prefer the lighter ABV with a lot of hop complex sitting on top, so a higher IBU on a session. So an unfiltered session is pretty cool. It's a good beer here.
Yeah, for our IPAs, really big on Mosaic and Citra. Those two paired together especially. Also a big fan of Simcoe, Amarillo, those hops. So a lot of the New Zealand or Southern Hemisphere hops are obviously super popular, but they have that nice fruit-forward, juicy flavor, as they call them, juicy hops. Yeah, it's interesting to see where the trends are going in terms of how people are imparting hops into the beers. World of difference from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, where it was just all about bitterness, right? Just rip those taste buds right off your tongue, and how bitter can you make it? And actually people got over that pretty quick. Yeah. So it was session IPAs, and then fruited IPAs, and hazy IPAs, and now it's brut IPAs. And I think the trends are going to continue. There's always going to be that niche style that's the latest, newest, strange thing. But it can't get too far away from just good, clean fermentation. Can you just make a polished, balanced, well-attenuated beer, that isn't hazy or, any of the other number of things. I don't think it'll ever go too far from that. So why did I choose Wavelength? I think it's a great word that ties into pretty much everything. Because with wavelength, you're just referring to a sine wave, and that's light, that's sound, that's electricity, that's vibration. Like almost anything except for DC power can be measured in an AC waveform. Since our big push here was going to be doing science outreach, I wanted something that was a known term and something that can be tied into all kinds of things. So I kind of feel like wavelength is a good word for that. That's definitely a core component. We do science outreach, trying to represent all the sciences. We've had biologists and chemists, mathematicians, all kinds of different folks come in and do science outreach here. But we kind of always come back to astronomy and spaceflight. I feel like those two are really relatable. I think you can know next to nothing about science or either one of those two subjects, and when you see a picture of the Andromeda Galaxy, it still just makes that impression and just takes you back a minute, and you look and go, oh, how many stars is that? That's 100 billion stars in that photo right there. Or of course, with spaceflight, and especially now that rockets are not just launching but landing. you know, that's something again that you don't need to know who SpaceX is to go, oh my god, that thing just landed on a ship at sea, you know. So I think they're really relatable, and that's why we promote it a lot. Yeah, so our biggest event each week is our Friday night science talk at 8 o'clock. We have had a science talk in here every Friday for almost 3 years running. So please put your hands together for Professor Shane Haggard.
Thanks, Hans. Thanks, Hans. How's everybody? Awesome, awesome.
Literally haven't missed a Friday. And boy, that's a pain in the ass.
Well, we are going to talk about the science of superheroes, and I wanted to do this talk because here just a couple of weeks ago, there's this thing, this little event in San Diego that happens every year in July, and there's all these people descend upon San Diego, and they all look kind of like dressed in like weird costumes and do things. It's a little thing called Comic-Con. Anybody ever heard of it? Okay.
You know, and we kind of wanted to become the community or the hub for that community to gather. And our Friday night science talks have really done a good job with that. After the science talk, we'll take out our telescopes, set them up out on the sidewalk, show people Jupiter and Saturn and the moon and all the different stuff you could see.
Oh god, it's super small, but you can see it.
Not bad for 1.4 billion miles away.
Yeah, so Valhalla Party was super fun. It's kind of our follow-up to Comic-Con when it used to just be downtown that gets invaded, but now it's like the entire county falls under the Comic-Con spell once a year. Before I opened a brewery, I was a sound engineer and an audio-video technician, so it's always a good night when I can have beer going and good audio and a party going. Those are kind of all the fun things I enjoy all together. So yeah, it's a good time. I can confidently say that we have the best audio of any brewery anywhere, and if anyone disagrees, come in and give it a listen, because I don't think anyone else has a line array in their tasting room, so. Yeah, so our plan going forward, we're actually putting in a new brew house here later this year. I'm going to be able to pump out a lot more beer, which is really great. Beer styles, stuff that's coming up, getting towards Oktoberfest. So we're going to brew a Marsen beer, a traditional German Oktoberfest beer called Mars Attacks. We also just harvested our own hops. we've grown these locally here ourselves, and we put it into one batch of beer, and that's kind of a special once-a-year beer that we do. So both of those are coming up pretty soon. But that's a real exciting thing about beer, is it's this combination of you know, kind of the hard sciences of organic chemistry and just the physics of the process of manufacturing beer. And then there's this more, you know, artisan side of things of, you know, what flavors are good to you, and what, you know, how much body do you want in the beer, and, you know, making a hazy beer versus clear and all that. And, you know, a lot of that's more subjective in opinion. But to make good, fun, creative beer that people are going to like, you need both. You need to be able to bring both together. So I think that's what's unique about brewing versus just any old profession that you might pick.